everyone, and welcome to the consulting room. As usual, it's a Monday evening, and we are back to our consulting room with a wide variety of doctors and health workers and the medical personnel, because it's our aim to bring you the best information and education on all issues pertaining to your health, so that you'll be able to make decisions that will help better your life. Today we are here with Mr. Emmanuel Arthur, who is a psychiatric nurse at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. We also have Dr. Emmanuel Boache, who is also a medical officer at the Pentecost Hospital. And joining us on Zoom today, we have Dr. Theodore Apraku. He's a resident psychiatrist at Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. So they'll be joining us today as we have this very wonderful discussion about keeping up with appearances, a look at bipolar disorder. So we have a story, we have something from one of our viewers as usual, and we are going to share that and we go on with the show. So he says, my mother and friends have pleaded continuously with me to visit the hospital because of my current behavior. I have refused because I am not sick and not a madman. I have asked them what my crime was. All they say is I should not have posted on social media private encounters of myself and some women. They say I have become overly noisy and aggressive because I fought with my sister, Aku, and said unkind words to my uncle, Ejayao. The only thing I agree with them is I have recently developed a decreased need for sleep. My class teachers have complained about my lack of concentration in class. Previously, I never failed an exam. Today, I have to resit some papers I took last semester. My family is tired of me and cannot wait for me to complete school. They say I overspend a lot on food and cannot control the rate at which I spend money on items I do not need. For me, I do not think I'm sick. Well, all I know is I have become too busy preparing for my position of UN Secretary General. It is rather absurd. My friends laugh at me when I tell them about my ambitions. Instead of support, they rather discourage me. They say I am mad. Can you imagine? Some friends I have, despite all these changes, there are days I become convincingly moody. Please help. All I want for myself is to be alone. I cry all night to the extent that I nearly killed myself some time ago. The death of my father, followed by the breakup with my Akosia, is the cause of this, they say. I don't think so. All I know is I want to be myself. So, our dearest Mr. X, so to say, says he wants to be himself. Doctors and nurse, please, what is happening with him? Dr. Apreku, what's Mr. X going through? Because he seems to have a lot of things he's going through. If you could tell us what you think.
Well, okay, thank you very much. And thank you for having me on the program.
You're welcome.
So, this evening's topic is about bipolar disorder. And bipolar disorder is a mood disorder. And when we talk about mood, first let's define mood. So when we talk about mood, we are talking about a person's subjective feeling of emotion, internal feeling of emotion. So usually you have, say, sadness, happy, angry, those things.
Okay.
And normally our mood is reactive. That is, it is in a response to things that go on around us.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. It is in a response to things that go on around us. So, like you have, let's say you wake up in the morning, you remember that, say, it's your graduation day, and you are happy.
Yeah.
And then you realize that the photographer didn't show up. Then you are sad or you are angry. And then another photographer comes. So now you are a bit comforted, you see. So as you go along the day, or as the day goes along, your mood changes in relation to the things that go around you.
That's what you're saying. Mood is not static. Mood
yes,
is not static. Okay.
Yes, it isn't. So it is reactive. So it reacts to the things. But when you have a situation where one mood is just there, despite whatever is going on around you. So it can be a sad mood, and despite good things going on around you, you still feel sad. Or it's a very high mood, or you are very happy, and despite bad things going on around you, you still feel that way. And so when we talk about mood disorders, it's when you have a particular mood staying there for a long time without changing, despite the things that go on around you changing.
How long is long, Dr. Preku?
Say it again.
How long is a long time? Is it an hour, 2 days, a year? How long is long?
Okay, so for bipolar, for mania in bipolar, that is where you have the elevated mood. You have at least 4 days to 1 week. Now, when it's 4 days and it is not very disruptive, we call it hypomania. And when it is a week or longer, then it's what we call mania. And for depression, it's for 2 weeks. When you have that for at least 2 weeks, then we say you are depressed. Or if it is severe enough to cause hospitalization or cause a disruption in your function, then it doesn't matter how long it takes. It becomes a mood disorder.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Preku. So, Mr. Arthur, what causes this mood disorder, this bipolar? What causes it?
Studies will tell you that the etiology is unknown.
It's unknown.
It's unknown.
Okay.
So we have something we call hypothesis. We hypothesize. So it could be that you get it. So I was reading on a research conducted in UK, and the research stated that people with high IQ from the beginning, or when they are growing up, have the tendency of developing hypomania.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah. It doesn't mean it causes it.
No. They have the tendency.
They are at risk of it.
They are at risk of it.
Okay.
Now, if you have a relative who by chance also suffered from bipolar, you also stand a chance of suffering from bipolar. And there are biochemical imbalances, okay, which normally happens in the brain. So we have neurotransmitters in the brain. So
we try to explain things in the simplest way so that everybody can relate.
So let's say there are chemicals in the brain, which controls the activity of the individual.
I think I prefer that to neurotransmitters. Okay,
let's put it that way. Now, there are some which are excitatory neurotransmitters or chemicals. Okay, so when they are high, like the dopamines.
Okay, so they'll make you happy, or they'll make you in a big.
The highs and the lows of it depict the mood in which you'll be in.
Okay.
Do you get it?
So we are still talking about what might put you at risk of.
It.
Okay.
They are all hypotheses.
Okay.
So we can't say that this is the exact thing which is causing it. Now, the abuse of drugs can also cause it.
Okay. Continue.
The abuse of drugs can also cause it, and among others, we have several causes of bipolar. So as we go on,
some will come up. Okay. Dr. Boache, please, who does bipolar affect?
Right. So bipolar is no respect of persons. However, there are some persons, I think my namesake Emmanuel made mention of them. people who have first-degree relatives who have had the condition before. Okay. Outside them, there are age brackets that we expect persons to manifest them the more.
Okay.
So if someone falls within that age bracket and comes to us, we may think or we may suspect the person to be exhibiting signs of bipolar depression.
Okay.
And this basically are people who are children up to 50 years. Okay.
Oh, that's a very
so it's
wide,
a very wide gap,
range.
wide range from childhood to 50 years.
Okay.
Because after 50 years, we are thinking of some brain issues or degenerative conditions which may mimic
degenerative conditions.
Okay, so we are talking about the brain loses its capacity after due to some either the brain cells are lessening. We call it atrophy. I want to make it so simple.
Yes, you know I like that.
Yes, or there may be some cardiovascular issues. Your heart, your brain, your spinal cord, the connections between them may be lessening. Okay. So they may show signs, or even menopause in women. Okay, so they may mimic what you called bipolar. So you have to exclude this after 50 years. So the diagnosis is not classically made after 50 years.
Okay.
But however, from childhood to 50 years, those are the age bracket that you see them the more. But there are two windows where it is quite high. The late teenage years from 15 to 19, that is the first quarter of those who exhibit it the most.
Okay.
And then the second category is those from 20 to 24 years. So between 15 to 24, that's also another wide gap, about 10 years, almost 10 years. Those are the age bracket that exhibit the symptoms the most. Okay. So childhood to 50 years.
So it can affect
anybody.
So
those
and
of
is
us,
it gender specific?
It isn't.
Okay.
It isn't. Males and females are affected equally. However, persons who research have shown to be relapsing frequent, we call them rapid cyclists, are females.
Okay.
Okay, so females may have the tendency of, I don't want you to relapse, but relapsing frequently than males, but the predisposition is same for males and females.
Okay, we are having a very interesting conversation so far. So if during the course of the program you happen to have any questions, any suggestions, as usual, kindly send them to us on WhatsApp or text or on the number 055 968 0066 055 968 0066. The numbers would also be displayed on your screen so you can easily get in touch with us. So going along, we've mentioned that there are some signs and symptoms. What are some of these signs and some of these symptoms? Dr. Apreku.
Right, so before I go to signs and symptoms, I agree with Dr. Boakye and Mr. Arthur said. And I'd just like to add that one group of people who are much at risk of getting a bipolar are women after delivery. So in the, what we call the postpartum period, women have a high tendency of getting a mood disorder, either a manic episode or a depressive episode. Okay. Now with the signs and symptoms, we said that it's a mood disorder, and so predominantly the thing that changes about the individual is their mood. In bipolar, usually we are looking for a manic episode, although they do tend to have depressive episodes. You have an elated or elevated mood, so they are in very high spirits. They look like they've heard some very good news, and that state stays with them for a long time. So it's like hearing say that you just got admission into a school that you were looking for, you just got a job after being home for a long time. At that moment, the ecstasy that you feel. Now, a person with manic episode has that level of happiness that stays with them for a long time. And because of that mood that they are in, it gives them a lot of, it predisposes them to a lot of other symptoms. So then they have increased self-esteem. And that increased self-esteem makes them have what we call grandiose ideas. They have ideas of elevated self-worth. So in the scenario that you gave, the person believes that they are the UN, they are the next UN Secretary General.
Yeah, he's working towards becoming the UN Secretary General. Yeah.
Yes, and this is someone who is not doing well academically at the moment, but they believe that they are going to be the next UN, and it's not practical and it's not possible in any way as you look at them now. And this is different from someone just believing that they are going to be a big person in the future. Here is like what they are saying doesn't, let me say, make sense. Now, also they have inappropriate optimism from the mood that they are in. So the inappropriate optimism makes them believe that they can do a lot of things, and then they have decreased inhibition, so they are not able to think things through. Anything that comes to mind, they just say it. And that sometimes causes them to have problems with other people because they just speak anyhow. And so you realize someone who is usually a shy person suddenly is able to talk to their elders anyhow. They insult anyone. They make fun of anyone. They talk to people as if they are nothing. Also, you have increased energy. And the increased energy comes also with the mood. It's like when you are happy, you are more likely to be engaged and you are a lot more likely to be active. So this will manifest as what we call a decreased need for sleep. So these people would usually sleep for like an hour or two in the whole day, but they will have a lot of energy. They'll be going up and down in the night. Sometimes you can hear them singing, praying loudly throughout the night. Sometimes they are in their room alone and they are preaching. And then they are hyperactive and their thoughts are racing and their speech is really very fast. They talk very fast and it's difficult to follow their thought pattern. Yes, I'm sure the three members will have more to add. So,
Mr. Arthur, the signs and the symptoms that. So right now, Dr. Apraku has told us that they have their mood is elevated. Yes, and they have decreased need for sleep. And what's more?
Aside their decreased need for sleep, they have high sexual drive.
Okay.
They have high sexual drive. That one about that. That is why they have indiscriminate sex.
Yeah, he posted some of his private encounters with the women.
When they have that high sexual drive, that is what actually happens. Now, they spend extravagantly. They buy things of no use to them. So, they will go to the market, buy things that they don't need. They'll buy toffees, they'll buy buckets that they don't need. They'll buy things
just for the sake of buying.
That's it.
Now we are looking at the signs and the symptoms, and Mr. Arthur was going on about it for us, about increased sexual drive and
increasing sexual drive. And most of the times it happens at the manic phase of it. You see, bipolar has two phases, the manic phase and the depressive phase. So the ones that we are talking about are all happening at the manic phase, which is the excitement phase. Now, the excitement phase, they easily get distracted.
Okay.
Yeah. When they are the manic phase, they easily get distracted. And most of the times, they don't pay attention or they lack concentration.
Okay.
So in the preamble, realize that the guy has never failed his exam before, but this time around, he failed. And thus he has to write or rewrite the exam again.
Yeah.
So he was not concentrating in class.
Yeah.
And hence it affected
the academic
aspect of his life. Now, let's look at the depressive state. Now, looking at the depressive state, it's more or less like the direct opposite of the manic phase. Now, with this, they have this kind of sense of guilt.
Okay.
Then they have this kind of sense of worthlessness. So he feels like, or she feels like, I don't deserve anything.
Well, he tried killing himself already.
Good, that is the suicidal ideation. Okay, they have these suicidal thoughts. That, okay, fine, let me end it all. Sometimes that's okay. Now, during the depressive episode, they do have low sexual drive.
Okay.
in the depressive state.
So they move from very high to very low.
That is why it's a bipolar. So
there are two poles. Yeah.
The excitement pole and the depressive pole.
Okay.
Okay. So in the elated part, they do things awkwardly. Now, when it comes to the depressive side too, they do things like a typical depressed patient. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So that is where they have this sense of guilt, sense of unworthiness. They have this suicidal ideation. They have low energy.
Okay.
And they have poor judgment too.
Well, so the poor judgment is both when they are highly
elated and then
they are depressive
mood.
Okay.
Because they can't make any good judgment of anything that they are doing.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, they'll be like, so am I the one who did this? Then they will begin to regret whatever that they did.
Okay.
So I'll don't go add more to
Okay.
All right. So concerning depression, with what my namesake Ima said, you may think it's laziness, but depression is not laziness.
The person is not being lazy.
The person is not being lazy. It's not that a common no, and I say she's lazy to cook. No, that is not depression, and it is not just a day or two depressed mood or disordered mood. No, it's deep, it's profound, and it's prolonged. Three things. And depression also affects.
Please, can you repeat it?
Okay, so it's deep. Okay, so they fall so deep into whatever is making them. Let me use the word sad. Okay, to capture depression.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's prolonged. It's long lasting for about 2 weeks, continuous. In fact, consecutive 2 weeks, minimum 2 weeks.
Every day.
Every day.
Most times of the day.
Also, without any identifiable cause. Okay, yes, and it's profound. It affects their whole being. It affects their mental. It affects their physical being. It affects their emotional being. In fact, some even end up at the hospital with other conditions, which is not bipolar. Classically bipolar.
So you're not eating, you're not drinking. You'll be dehydrated.
Okay, so we should get this clear that bipolar is not laziness. It is not something superficial. It affects them deeply.
Unfortunately, then, in our Ghanaian society, because we can't touch what is going on in the mind, we tend to think, just get a grip of yourself.
Yes. And
at the end, yeah.
And one more thing with bipolar is that it affects their, like you said, their self-worth. It affects their productivity. It affects their relationships.
Oh, yeah.
So the depression is affecting you personally. It's affecting the people around you. And it's affecting your productivity at work. Okay. So this is because they manifest one symptom we call anhedonia. Or that is a loss of interest in anything that used to interest them previously. Okay. So for instance, I'm a heart of folk supporter.
Hey.
Okay.
Is it phobia?
I talk about phobia all the time.
Okay.
I talk about my phobia all the time.
Do you go and watch their matches or and now anytime?
I mean anytime I'm the stadium. Me share na many okay. And I tease Kotoko so much. Even if they win, I will tease them.
Okay.
I have my way of teasing them. And then for about 2 weeks, you see me not talking about hearts, not talking about Kotoko. Even though Kotoko may be losing, heart may win, I don't care. Okay. For 2 weeks, I may not go to work. Even if I go at times.
2 weeks or more.
Or more. I go to work at times that I like. If you're a patient, you come near me, I may get angry. Why are you here? So it affects everything concerning them, and their relations tend to suffer.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is one thing. The other thing that I would like to talk about is the mood that has gone down. So I said they can cry for so long without any reason. They can sleep for so long. If they are moody, and they will just lock themselves indoors They won't go out, they won't step out. And if they get the chance to speak to someone, you are dead. They will speak to you non-stop.
Okay.
Okay. So it's something that affects the totality of a person. And like Ima said, it's like two poles. At one extreme end, it's
high.
It's the uppermost part of happiness.
Yeah.
At the other extreme end is the lowermost part of sadness.
Like you've gone to the depths of the world.
You've gone to the depths of
that is it.
Of it. And so, but sometimes, so for bipolar, they alternate. For the past few days, you know, then out of nowhere, the person becomes hyperactive. Like he thinks he's the UN president.
Dr. Apraku was saying that they can just be in the room and be preaching to loudly.
Themselves, yes. Yeah. They will be hallucinating.
They are highly religious.
Yes.
Okay.
Religiosity. Don't go there. Especially when they're in the manic phase. Wow. You believe them. When they're in the manic phase, you believe them.
I think when I was in medical school, one of my lecturers made a statement that he thinks most men of God in Ghana should be screened for for mania, because sometimes there are excesses. Well, but we are not here to discuss spirituality. We are here to discuss bipolar. Okay, so I think we've spoken at length, unless there's more to add to the signs and the symptoms. Please, do we still have Dr. Apraku with us? Okay, let's continue. I'm sure he'll join us in due course. So I happen to have some of these symptoms. Where do I go to? What can I do? Please help me. Let's help him, Mr. X.
All right, so the first thing is that these people don't think they need help.
Okay. So it's other people that would think they need help.
Yes, other people would think something is wrong, but they don't think something is wrong. And even if health care is initiated, they are not compliant.
Okay.
They are not compliant. Okay, they may come and they will stop. They may come and they will stop. So how do we? The question is, how do we assist them? First of all, is for them to understand and appreciate that there's something fundamentally wrong, something fundamental going haywire that we need to take care of. If that premise is not established, we are not going to make any headway.
Okay.
Because you put them on whatever treatment option is available, and they won't take it up. Okay, so there are so many ways. That they can be helped, but first of all, it's for them to accept the condition they are in. Because one, they don't know, and even if they know, they may think, oh, there are people misjudging them, that they think something is wrong with them. You may force them into a health facility, like our case study that we have. The guy says, "Oh no, who said there's something wrong?" He says that
he's not mad.
He's not mad. He's not insane. He wants to be himself. But people are saying that no, he has to seek help.
Okay, Mr. Arthur, you are working in a psychiatric hospital. How do I access health care at the psychiatric hospital, and how do I go about it?
Okay, thank you. With these people, just as my namesake said, please, you are not called Ima.
No. No.
You are not called Ima. So we are talking. Just as my namesake said, these people, they lack insight. So it's very difficult for them to accept admission.
Okay.
Now they have to meet a certain criteria before they are being admitted. One, they must meet the criteria of being a threat to themselves and the people around them.
Okay, so you don't just have to threaten to beat somebody. If you are doing something that is
yes, if you're
harmful
yes,
to you.
yes.
But it's me. It's
no. You see, in that instance, okay, let's say your judgment is very poor.
Okay.
Okay, and your conscience is clouded, so you can't make any good judgment or make any good decision. So as at that time, it's the state and your family who makes that decision for you.
Okay.
Do you get it?
Yeah.
Now you yourself, you will not realize that you've gone into that mood. That is why this guy is saying he's not sick. Okay, he's not sick. He has no idea of what is happening around him. So this is what happens. Family brings him in to the hospital.
Okay.
Do you get it? For him to be interviewed. Then upon assessment, when we realize that he meets the criteria for admission, he's being admitted.
So you can send anybody with bipolar, or so to speak, any mental health disorder can be sent by the family members.
Yes.
But isn't that dangerous? Some people can conspire. Some family members can actually conspire and bring somebody there against their will. How do we prevent? What's the balance between these two?
Good. It's a very good question that you've asked. You see, that is why I said they are supposed to meet a certain criteria.
Okay.
So you will not be admitted just because your family brought you in and they are saying blah 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 blah. No. Now we will take a history from the family. Okay. Then we'll confirm it from the patient. These are the allegations leveled against you. Do you get it? So it's not like it's a one-sided thing. It's a history taking. We take the side of the patient, we take the side of the relatives.
And doesn't the family need sort of like the police or the courts involved? Because if bundling somebody up into the hospital is against their rights. So what's the deal with that one too?
Okay, good.
All right, so with us, yes, so I think we discussed about patient rights, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. However, there are instances where the patient has no rights.
That is it.
Well.
So we talked about children less than 18 years.
Yes.
You don't have any rights. If you are mentally...
You don't have any rights, or you don't have some rights.
You don't have... we are talking about health with health, okay?
Okay.
So healthcare can be forced on you. That's what I want to say.
Okay.
If
Thank you for the clarification.
If you are unconscious, healthcare can be forced on you.
Okay.
If you are mentally challenged, healthcare can be forced on you. Because like he said, you've become a threat to yourself. You are trying to cut yourself. You are trying to harm yourself. You are trying to commit suicide. And you become a threat to others. You are making noise, you are disturbing their peace, sometimes even threatening some people with knives and cutlasses and machetes and all that. When it gets there, don't say that you have rights. No, you don't. So you can be hauled into any treatment facility, and the facility can use every means available to manage you. So that is what he's trying to put across.
I hope it's clear.
Yeah, I think it's clear now.
So as at that point, you the patient, you can't make that decision for yourself. So upon the assessment, then the medical officer will decide this patient is supposed to be admitted. Now when you're admitted, we have other forms of treatment modalities, which will be explained to you at the consulting room, or your nurse or attending nurse will explain everything to you as to your treatment modalities. Probably there will be a family therapy, there will be an individual psychotherapy for you, there will be treatments like medication and other stuff for you. So there are other things that comes into play when the patient is being admitted.
Okay.
Do you get it? So the history taking and other stuff will help us to ascertain the fact that this person is actually sick, or the patient is forcing it, the relatives are forcing the patient to come to the hospital. There are instances they will bring a patient and you realize that there is nothing wrong with the person. Probably they are provoking him. And out of the provocation, he also reacted.
Okay.
So they might be like...
it's like a one-off.
That is it.
Okay.
There are instances like that, and the patient has to walk free and go.
Okay. Dr. Boache, is there, it looks like, I thought you had something to add on to that.
Yes, so adding on to what he said, so helping such persons, it's not the person centered alone. There's a huge family involvement and social support.
Okay.
Because like you said, these are people who will easily abscond from the health facility
It's
all the time.
really for them.
All the time, they just abscond. Okay, it's for the family that will have to be on the alert that this is someone that we have initiated healthcare for, and we have to make sure the person takes his healthcare seriously.
Is the healthcare expensive for bipolar?
Okay, this one there, I have to be very frank here. Okay, we are on national television, and I'm being frank here. The treatment for mental health or mental illness is not a joke. It's very expensive.
Okay.
It's very, very expensive. That is why government takes parts of their treatment.
Okay.
Because
that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is why government takes part of their treatment. Ideally, you see, you can get one of their tablets, like 2 cedis, 3 cedis per tablet. Now, just imagine a patient taking like 2 of the tablets, okay, 4 of the tablets within the day. Okay. Now, the patient will be on the medication for like a year or 2, or probably more. Okay, so 3 cedis a day, he's taking like 12 cedis. Okay, and the patient, so
it's
a long term something, and it's look at the stigma attached to it, and the financial burden on the family. So it's the cost of treatment for mental health in Ghana, not Ghana alone, but across the world, is very expensive. Very, very expensive.
Somebody that gets easily irritated, do they have bipolar? Someone is asking. That's the only question for today from our viewers.
That is not bipolar.
It's not bipolar. we can boldly say it's not bipolar.
Yes.
But is it a disorder?
Okay, people with cyclothymia.
Okay, well.
Or let's say,
since it's not bipolar.
No. It's a personality disorder.
Okay, it's also a disorder.
Or people with cyclothymia or epileptic personality.
Okay.
Yeah, let me put it that way. They tend to be easily irritated. You get it? They tend to be easily irritated. So sometimes it's a personality disorder, not necessarily
Bipolar.
Bipolar. No. Not necessarily bipolar. So that is it.
Okay. So I'll try to get in touch with Dr. Apreku as we round up. But then if you have Dr. Apreku. Hello, Dr. Apreku. We'll still try to get in touch with Dr. Apreku as we round up. So we've learned a lot. It's a mood disorder. It's the highs, the very highs, and the deepest lows.
Yeah.
Dr. Apreku.
Yes, hello.
Welcome back to the very tail. So I don't know if you were able to follow the conversation when we had the technical difficulties, but we are taking our last words.
Okay. So what I would like to leave with your viewers is that bipolar is a teachable disease.
Okay.
And in the scenario that we were given, that patient was worried about people calling them mad. And they are not mad. These are people who can live life to the fullest. We have doctors, nurses, we have lawyers, bankers, we have teachers who have these conditions. They are doing their work very well. And so we should not stigmatize them. Rather, as Christians, as family members, what we should do is to get closer to these people, give them the support that they need. And sometimes the support includes helping them financially so that they can stay on their medications and be well too. not be a bother to other people, and be well enough to work to their fullest potential.
Dr. Apraku, you being a psychiatrist in training, I'm sure you might have some idea about the cost of treatment. You said we should help them, meaning it's very expensive, even from your point.
Unfortunately, it is. So, for mental health conditions are not on the national health insurance.
Yeah.
And so you have to pay out of pocket. It is only people who are admitted to the psychiatric hospitals who may have some subsidy from the government. But apart from the psychiatric hospital, every other place that you seek mental health care, you have to pay out of pocket. And so it tends to be a bit of a burden on the patients if they are not financially well to do.
Okay, so then I think that's part of the challenge for mental health in our country.
Yeah. I remember 2015, I was at one of the hospitals at Ahafo, and we tried our best for the hospital to do co-payment for our clients. It wasn't easy for them, because I remember when I'm going for home visits, I'll get down, let's say at headquarters, and I'll walk like from headquarters to Laboni.
Oh, that's a distance.
In a cocoa farm.
Just going to see your patient.
Yes.
Okay.
That is how bad it is. And you see, sometimes these people, they don't have the financial strength. They don't have the financial strength to help themselves or push themselves going. Those who have the financial muscles to, you see, it will get to a time, relatives will be thinking that they are becoming a burden on them.
Mm-hmm. So they need...
That is it. So sometimes, you see, it's something. We will plead that if the government can incorporate some of their medications into the health insurance system for them.
Talking about government, there's the mental health bill. How far with that, Dr. Apraku, if you're still with us?
Bill, that's okay. I don't know what the difference between the bill and the act, but it's gone through the first phase of discussions in Parliament, and actually there were applications done, and so I think Parliament has to debate on it again for the President to sign it into a law.
Okay.
But it is something that we've adapted, and it is something that we are using now. So it's the Mental Health Act of 2012. It's something that we are using now. And it's a very progressive one. It has been praised. It's received a lot of praise from many quarters and many bodies. And so I think people should find it and look through it and see what is in it.
This question is to you again, Dr. Apraku. How accessible are psychiatrists, most especially in Ghana? What's your strength in Ghana? Because we say there's strength in numbers.
Well, currently, I think there are about between 45 and 50 psychiatrists.
For 30 million Ghanaians.
And that's a huge improvement from even
it's a very huge improvement.
As like 5 years ago when they were less than 20.
Yeah, I think when I was in medical school, they said they were about 12. That was about 3 years ago.
Wow, when I was in school.
Okay.
When I was in school, they were about 4.
That's a leap. But do you think we need more? Or you people are okay?
Definitely we need more. Definitely we need more. Like in our clinics in Confanoche, sometimes we see about 120 patients in one day.
Wow.
And you have like 4 people seeing these people. So it's a huge amount of work, and it also means that you don't get to spend enough time with the patients, because you see sometimes these people have issues that maybe social in nature that maybe and you are not able to help sort those out because, I mean, you can't spend all the time on one person.
Okay, well, I do pray and hope that as the years go by, we'll have more psychiatrists and, so to say, more specialists in Ghana, both specialist doctors and specialist nurses and specialist medical practitioners generally, so that we'll be able to help our people, because 45 or 50 to 30 million,
yeah,
that's a huge burden.
The gap is very huge. It's very
So even for psychiatric nurses,
yes,
there's you're not enough.
Yeah, you go to a community, you see only one psychiatric nurse running the whole community, and
you might not even have access to the doctors.
See, it's not you might not, you will not have. It's not you might not. 2015, my unit, we were 4, all psychiatric nurses. We were the ones running the unit.
Wow. Dr. Wachi, does this also, I know you are in general practice now. What is the burden on general practitioners as the psychiatric units are woefully under, what's the word?
All right, so truth of the matter is healthcare in Ghana, I say we don't have a health system.
Sad.
Okay, we don't have a health system because on a normal day, if you are fortunate, okay, at your clinic, you may see about minimum 30 patients. That is if you are fortunate. Okay, so we don't have the resources, we don't have the personnel, we don't have the finances to support healthcare in Ghana. I always say we are doing something to represent something, but there's nothing. Okay.
Well. We've had a lot of education today. The conclusion hasn't been as exciting as I thought it would be, but the consulting room is always here to give you information that will help you make better health decisions. We will be with you next week Monday and every other Monday at 8 p.m. and do well to look forward to more interesting topics, and we will also do well on our part not to disappoint you. It's been a very interesting conversation. We are sorry for the technical difficulties we had, and we hope that subsequently we'll give you a very faultless show. Thank you very much for joining us today. Have a good evening.
Thank you.